The last time I saw Frank Sinatra was after my father passed away. It seemed like he just came to the house to talk to me directly. I remember him coming inside the front door, asking Altarese if he could talk to me. And so what he did was he took me outside and he gave me some sage advice. And unfortunately, I can't remember what he said exactly, but it went along the lines of me being the man of the house and protecting my mother and my father's name, and you know, that's pretty much the gist of it. But I remember, uh, see, because where our mansion was positioned, people used to drive up the hill, and they used to sit there and be able to like get a direct shot of the front of the mansion. So I remember a few days after that, uh, they put that picture on the Inquirer or one of those magazines. I forget which one it was, but it might have been that one. But that's when like all the tabloid fodder started. I started getting written about in the tabloids, and yeah, that kind of doesn't go with it. But yeah, that was like the first time I was ever in a tabloid magazine. I was pictured with Frank Sinatra, and it was that day where he gave me advice. But I remember the first time I saw Frank Sinatra. It was at the Waldorf Astoria in New York, and he and his wife Barbara Sinatra were visiting. Oh, I think they might have been performing. Well, Frank and Sammy might have been performing in New York. I'm not sure, but that's the first time I met Frank and his wife. And so what we did was we sat down, and had a nice meal in the suite. And it was during this time when Altavis was teaching me etiquette. And so what she taught me was to cut all my food into like little bite-sized pieces, so you don't have to sit there and stuff your mouth at the table. So our first meal actually happened to be fried chicken. And so I had like a wing and drumsticks because those are my favorite parts. And I'm sitting there struggling with a knife and fork and a knife and fork, just trying to cut it, not able to at all. Just I had a very uncomfortable time with that. And so Frank, he's watching me. And he's like, Jesus, Alto, what the hell are you doing to this kid? And then he told me to pick up the chicken. He says, it's okay, Manny. You can pick it up and eat it. And he picked up his chicken and ate it with his hands. And so I felt comfortable like that. But that's the type of man Frank Sinatra was. So I remember after that meal, my mother, father, and Frank and his wife, they went out. And one of my father's favorite passions was playing Pac-Man. And so he had this huge Pac-Man machine. And when they left, of course, I'm drinking Strawberry Crush. It was our favorite soda. And I'm playing Miss Pac-Man. And so I was playing for a few hours, and I got, a little sleepy and tired. And I knew I had to be in bed before they got home. So I went, try to conserve electricity. I turned off the lights in the suite. And so all of a sudden, like, all the lights went out, and I thought it was kind of weird, so I flicked the switch on and everything came back on again. And I started to feel like a little weird, so I turned back off again, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I quickly turned the lights back on, and I ran over to the Pac-Man machine. And what I had actually did was I turned off all the power to the machine, so my father's high score, which he had on it, totally erased. And I was panicking. I was like, oh my gosh, and I'm tired by now. And so what I did was, for the next few hours, I was sitting there playing my little heart out to try to at least beat the top score so he won't find out. And that didn't wind up happening. I heard the door to the suite begin to open, and so I just hightailed it to the room, went under the covers, and pretended I was sleeping. But we all knew what happened. Like the next day, Altarese came and asked me if I had turned off the machine, and it's the first time I ever lied to Sammy. But I was scared. But he wasn't really mad at me, but he might have been a little disappointed. But that's my first time meeting Frank Sinatra, and the last time seeing him.